Hi, Wes. You're on the line. What would you like to talk about today?
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Good evening. So
All
good.
right.
Warm.
Yeah. So, I am a little bit more of a progressive Christian. I've seen a lot of fundamentalism and a lot of atheists, it seems to me, come out of fundamentalism. And I'm wondering what you think. I haven't heard, I've only come across your channel and your work just fairly recently. I've tried to dig into as much as I could before I call, but I'm wondering what you think about more progressive Christianity. I haven't seen you tackle it as much. It seems like you're dealing with things like young earth creationism and Ken Ham style stuff, which is
You
hilarious,
haven't
by the
watched
way.
Paul's
Paul,
channel in a long ass time, by the
no,
sounds of it.
well, yeah, maybe I've seen a lot of like of the Ken Ham stuff on Paul's channel and things like that, but
About
maybe
two
it's like a
years ago,
bias.
maybe.
I'm like,
No,
is that what
that's
it
all
is?
right.
It's older stuff.
Well, I don't. I think you would be correct to say that I have not dealt with a lot of progressive Christian stuff because I
Mm,
like to respond directly to the claims of Christians, and I find that progressive Christianity doesn't have the same kind of coherent, cohesive message that they are putting forth and wanting other people to adopt. Rightly or wrongly,
right.
that seems to be my perception of progressive Christianity. It is more come to us with your ideas, and we will figure out how all of our ideas can work together for the betterment of the community that we're in right at the moment. Versus evangelical Christianity is making more bold claims about the way reality works. So it's easier, obviously, of course, it doesn't really matter what's easy, what's not easy. The progressive Christianity isn't, because it's not putting forth those straightforward ideas, it's a little less coherent. I also find it to be somewhat less problematic in that they have come to some of the same things that I'm talking about. They've already come to the realization of. So progressive Christians tend
Wow.
to fully acknowledge and accept the things that I put forth are the problems in the Bible, right? So, say for unknown authorship or the unlikelihood that it's an eyewitness or that, the Old Testament was clearly not written by Moses in the way they think it was, or that prophecy may not work the way that people think that it does. A lot of progressive Christianity just says, yes, that's fine, and takes that on board. Or, oh, that the earth is 4 billion years old. Okay, that's also fine. So, I guess that's a bit rambly, but that's kind of why progressive Christianity hasn't been as much on my radar. What was your thoughts about it?
Well,
Is
so
that
it
a,
sounds like it's more just it's hard to nail down, like kind of nailing Jello to a wall kind of thing. They're a little more squishy.
it's hard to nail down. They're also less, I think, tell me if you think I'm wrong. Progressive Christianity is a lot less about recruitment and a lot less about even being right about something. I
Uh-huh.
think that
Yeah.
progressive Christians don't tend to say that they have specific answers in the same way that an evangelical does. So, if you're gonna make a YouTube video about about a worldview, it's a little yeah, but you're not wrong. It's a little less. There's less of a coherent worldview with progressive Christianity to put forth. I also feel like, and this would be more controversial take, people who are progressive Christians, from my view, are basically people on the way out who are holding residual, who like the label. And
Mm.
even though the positions they hold very incompatible with the way the label would traditionally have been used, they're going to adopt the new positions that are maybe less problematic, but for whatever reason, they still got the label. And so if someone doesn't have if someone's not espousing or creating the problems that I see with Christianity, but still want to call themselves that, it's like, well, okay, go knock yourself out. I think you're being intellectually dishonest in a lot of cases, but fine. Like I feel like they're on their way out, so I don't need to help them. Maybe
Yeah.
is that a more controversial take? I'm not sure
No,
if
that
progressive
makes
Christians
sense.
are real Christians in the sense that I would call them. But sure, let's put that out there.
The niche of
Yeah.
people that you
So
thought were real Christians, though, is pretty
Yeah.
vanishingly small group of people.
yeah.
Well, when you're
So
an evangelical, yeah.
I called in and talked to Matt the other day, and he basically yelled at me and said I wasn't a real Christian and hung up on me.
Oh, well,
So
we're not
that
gonna
was
yell. I don't know
kind of
what you said
it.
to Matt, but
Well, no, I understand. That's like his personality or whatever it seems like. I don't know. It seemed like it was very much like, Jesus Christ to me seemed like most of the New Testament, he was fighting against what we would call fundamentalists and fundamentalism. He was fighting against traditions and people who were stuck. He was showing them that the law was something that was given as an accommodation for them and that they needed to go by a new law of Christ and a new law of love and liberty. And so it's strange to me that, I guess, it makes sense that you would fight more against fundamentalists and fundamentalism because it's a problem. I
Look,
So
after
why
your
are you
contexting
calling
is
it?
getting,
so well, for starters, like,
what's that?
before you say anything, Paul doesn't really fight against fundamentalism. Paul does textual
Mm,
criticism. So you haven't watched his channel in a while, I'm assuming, or you're not addressing the content that he makes because he's not speaking to X type of Christian or Y type of Christian. He's opening up the Bible and going through the
mm,
history that goes alongside it and saying, this is why this doesn't make sense. This is an alternate explanation. This is where things contradict each other. This is where it falls apart. That textual
right.
criticism is available for anyone, atheist, Hindu, every sect of Christian, Muslim, everybody to look at. It is not directly addressing evangelism. It's specifically talking about Christianity as a whole directly from the book. So he's not addressing evangelicals or going after evangelicals. If you want to talk about somebody going after evangelicals, I'm probably your Daisy there because my focus in my activism is protecting people from harm and people having poor
Okay.
epistemologies. So
So Wes, when
I
you
tend to
when you
go
call
more.
into a show like this, why are you so I guess I'm curious, are you calling in to get affirmation for yourself that you are right? Are you calling in to try to tell us that we are wrong? Like, are you
I,
trying to
I just
convert? Maybe I'm wrong. Are you trying to convert us? Do you think our lives would be better if we would be the way you were?
I think that I just haven't heard a lot of your opinions on specifically on progressive Christianity. So it's just trying to get a little bit more information on that, or find out where you stood on that. On the textual side, I think that fits as well. I think progressive Christians would lean more towards a dynamic model of inspiration. So even going towards, kind of critiquing contradictions and errors and things like that are kind of solved if you look at an ongoing inspiration model of scripture versus some type of original inspiration or autograph inspiration or something along those lines. So,
Do you think
that's,
do you think that you are in a better position going into the afterlife than Shannon and I?
I believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, and I believe that he promised that people who claim him and follow him will rise from the dead as well. So I think that it depends on if you want to live forever. I believe that I have faith in a resurrection. And so, if you want to die and be gone and that's it, then that's fine. But if you have any type of hope for a resurrection, then I would say that Jesus Christ is the best hope for a resurrection that exists on earth.
But not the only hope then. But he said it was the best hope. So there's other hopes that if I wanted to live forever, there's other routes I could take.
No, there's no other route that I know of
Be the
because
Highlander.
Jesus Christ yeah, because Jesus Christ is very exclusive in his claim. No man cometh to the Father but by me. I do believe that. So it's kind of like one of those things where once you accept that, you, I mean, it's definitely an exclusive thing. It's not like a all roads lead to God kind of a situation.
Okay. So if
So
Shannon and
yeah,
I are just okay with not living forever, then we're fine. Do you think that Shannon and I on Earth right now are that we're that the Earth would be better? Like, would this life be better if Shannon and I were Christians versus what we're doing now?
I think that at this point in humanity, at this point in like our history of humans, I think that the difference is negligible, or more negligible. I think that there's some deep joy that comes along with, and a peace that comes along with feeling like, with the hope of seeing loved ones that have passed away. So I think there's that. I think that there's It's there can be a genuine fear of death that causes all kinds of
Right.
harm
But that's
that
all next,
I
that's
feel
all
like
next life stuff, right?
it's beneficial for now.
Oh, you feel, oh, so no, but, oh, sorry. So yeah, maybe my personal being would have more sense of a hope or whatever. But I guess I meant like the
Yeah.
world, like, are Shannon and I doing harm in your view, I guess, to the world?
Are you doing harm to the world? I don't think that every unbeliever is doing harm to the world.
Okay.
No, I know.
I don't
So,
know. Wait, wait,
so kind
wait.
of
He didn't
Christian.
answer. Sorry, I have
No,
to jump
no,
in
he didn't say
because
he
we
didn't
did.
answer about me or you.
This is the thing that was frustrating me is Wes
I
earlier
don't know
attacked.
y'all. I don't
Wait,
know y'all
Wes,
that
wait,
well.
Wes, wait, Wes. You attacked Matt for, and I pointed out in chat that Matt hung up on you because you were being a pedantic ass. Right now, you're kind of being a pedantic ass because you were just asked whether they are doing damage, and you answered you don't believe all unbelievers are. And I'm desperate to hear the actual answer to their question. Are
Oh,
Paul and Shannon
Okay.
doing damage?
yeah. I appreciate that. The reason I said that is because I just don't know them. It's like a personal thing. I believe that individuals can do damage or not do damage.
Do you
Not
think
like
we're more
what they're
likely
doing.
than a Christian to do damage because of
I
being
think
atheists?
I'm sorry for cutting you off there. I think that what y'all are putting into the world with tearing down a lot of fundamentalism and that kind of garbage could be a net positive more than a lot of fundamentalists that I've seen. Let me put it that way.
So did you want to call just to see if we were cool with progressive Christianity? Is that kind of what you wanted to see?
I just didn't know if you had
if you would
any problems with any core issues with it.
everybody who calls themselves a progressive Christian is going to mean something different, right? So
Mhm.
it's difficult for me to say. I do like that there's a deconstruction movement in progressive Christianity where they're recognizing that there's, you know, trauma and abuse and oppressive systems that exist as a part of the structure of the church and the religion itself, and that is worth undoing. I care less about what label people land on than whether or not they're okay and whether or not they're doing damage. So I guess my answer would be the same for anybody who holds any religious label, which is so long as you're not harming yourself, others, or society, I do not care. You do you. I'll defend your right to believe whatever you want. Go nuts. But I'm not going to stop explaining why I don't believe, nor should I have to. But some people
Right.
perceive that as a threat, right? Just believing something in opposition is perceived as a threat.
Could I ask Wes
Yeah,
a
and
question
absolutely.
for the purpose of actually driving your conversation with Wes in a certain way that
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm
Oh, you're
chomping at the,
okay.
I'm champing at the
Go for
bit
it.
for right now. Wes, real quick, I guess two quick questions first. Do you know the name of the show you're calling in on right now?
The skeptic talk, is that right?
It's called SkepTalk. So with that name, do you sort of understand what the theme of this show is?
That you're skeptical towards Christianity.
No, we're skeptics.
Okay.
Just period. We're
Okay.
skeptics. And so what we do on this show is we specifically take skeptics who have some sort of demonstrated expertise in different fields and people who are, we can have like a higher level of conversation with, as opposed to like when it's just me, some idiot on the internet who has seen my way out of religion and just having conversation at we could even call it that lower level is how I'll call it when it's me on. So Wes, the direction I guess I want to see that you all bring it in instead of this weird, like I'm calling into a show about skepticism to ask if the hosts are down with progressive Christianity. You're calling in with a proposition, or you're calling in with at least a position. And this is a show about skepticism. So your position of progressive Christianity, regardless of whether or not it feels like it's high a priority or not as fundamentalist Christianity, in what way do you believe it should pass or would pass a sufficiently skeptical person's, let's just say, smell test? And that's the thing that I would really love to see you discuss with the hosts instead of this weird, I'm not going to describe it because I'm going to end up sounding sarcastic and mean. So just if that's okay with the host, that's the direction I would love to hear this go.
I'll want to interject one thing before we do that, and that is that unlike Shannon, I actually do think, and it relates to your thing, Jimmy, is that I think that the epistemology that you put forth, that you think that Jesus rose from the dead, for example, if you came to that conclusion through whatever process you came to, I do think that's problematic. I think the kind of thinking that leads you to think that Jesus rose from the dead is a problem that bleeds out to society more broadly, which is why I use the small a anti-theist label for myself. I do think that just epistemologically, progressive Christians are still a problem. I'm happy that
Okay.
that they're doing fewer direct things, but I am still against it because I think that you come to coming to wrong conclusions is just a bad thing. So feeding into what Jimmy just asked, like, how did you get there, my friend? And it seems like you don't even care if we get there, which is why I asked those initial questions, but how would you get us there if you wanted to?
Well, I think that faith is just on the other side of the line of skepticism. I think you're looking at the same, set of facts, and you are saying, I don't buy it, or you're saying, I do buy it. And so,
So faith, can you define faith for me?
yeah, faith is when you can, well, Christian faith is looking at all kinds of facts, or all kinds of historical information or stories that have been passed down, and saying, I believe it or I don't believe it. It's putting your trust in it, saying, I'm going to go ahead and
So
buy that
hold
story or
on,
not.
you're saying different things. So is Christian faith the gap between the level of evidence we have and the level of evidence you need to accept something? Is that Christian faith?
I don't think I've ever heard it put across that way, so I'd have to think about
Well,
that a little bit, but
you're describing blind faith, right? Or, like, that seems to me what you're describing. So I just wanted to put it in a way that was less offensive than blind faith,
no,
perhaps.
that's fine.
You're just
I think
or do
to
you
me,
mean, because other Christians hate
go
it when
ahead.
we say that. Other Christians hate it when we say that and say, no, faith is just the same kind of faith is just trust in a thing, like just you sat in your chair
It's just
because you
all
trust
just
it.
as
Yeah.
Pistis. Well, even Christians debate about whether that means. So, but it seems
I
to me
know.
you're using faith to mean the gap between where the evidence lands and how much evidence we need, and that
Yeah,
you're putting that forth as a virtue that you have that I don't have. Is that
I'm saying
correct?
if there's insufficient evidence,
yeah,
but I
okay.
believe it anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more like a probabilistic kind of a thing, like where I feel like there's enough evidence for me to take the leap and to say that I can buy that, I can believe that. It's something that's happening in the future. It's something that we're not sure of. There's a hope. And, I want to, I would like for it to be right. I want it to be right. And I feel like there's enough evidence there throughout history to say, yeah, I can buy that. I can take that step. In the Gospels, Jesus Christ said, blessed are those that have not seen and yet believe. So yeah, I think there is blind faith. So anybody who says, well, you guys are just like, you're just ignoring
Right.
all the evidence, or
And
all
you're
the
putting
stuff
this forth. You're putting that forth as a virtue.
I'm putting it forth as yeah, I think hope is a virtue. I think faith is a
So
virtue. I think that,
is
yeah.
there any positive idea in the world that I couldn't come to with your type of faith? Is there any positive idea that would be outside of your realm of acceptance?
Yeah, things that are just too improbable. I think that there's diluted hope. I think that if you had, you can,
So I
no,
understand for you, but if I'm using your methodology, I understand for you there'll be a different range. It's a finite range. But if I'm going to just espouse that ideas that I want to be true, like that's what you just told me, you think it's true because you want it to be true, and we can't know. Is there any idea that I couldn't come to accept if that's the epistemology that I'm using?
I think that there are ideas that you would be foolish to hope for. And I think that there are ideas that are reasonable. You have a reasonable, you have a good reason to hope for. If you have if you have, if you are
If
hoping
I have good
that
reason, I
the
don't
last
need the
place,
faith thing, right?
well, no, not at all. No, you absolutely have to have reasons to have faith. You have to, if you're going to, if the last place team in the NFL, if you have faith that they're going to win the Super Bowl, then that's crazy. And if the first place team in the NFL, you have faith that they're going to win the Super Bowl, that's reasonable, but you have no
That's
idea
about
if it's
future
true or not.
projections, though. Like, no, I just want the quick
Yeah,
differentiation. You're talking about future projections, right? So you're saying that you have faith in something that's already happened, faith that it did happen, because there's maybe not enough evidence. Because if you had enough evidence to be utterly convinced, you wouldn't need faith because you'd be sure.
yeah, I think so. I think that's probably true. I think I
So
think even
you'd
the
say you're
Bible is
not
very clear
sure
that
then, right? Like you're not
I have
sure,
enough I have enough faith to go ahead and accept it.
but you're not
But man,
sure.
I mean, I don't. I think any Christian that says they're sure is kind of lying to themselves.
That's honest.
I,
That's honest.
I don't think
So
the
what do you
Bible
think
is
the
full of
difference is
things.
between, like, you and Paul and I? Like, why do you think it's true and we don't?
Man, I don't know. I don't know enough about you particularly to say what the difference is between me and you. I would say that some of the people that I've seen that would maybe as a stand-in for for y'all as atheists, I've seen people that have been so hurt by Christians that
X1,
it
wrong, not from nope. That's nope, not it.
okay
That's not it.
okay.
Try again.
Well, I mean,
Round 2.
yeah. Well, so okay. I think that there is a gosh, it's hard to speak. It's hard to speak. Why don't you tell me what is it that you think is different about between me and you?
I think but maybe Paul thinks something different. What I think is that we realized it wasn't true and decided it's better not to believe things that we not only can't prove true, but are fairly certain are false. And you
Okay.
maybe got to the point where you're like, I can't 100% prove it's true, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And that was
I
enough for
don't think
you.
that you're being okay. So if you want something a little more fireworks on this call, I don't think you're being intellectually honest if you say we have come to the conclusion that it definitely is not true. I think
I'm
that you could say
super intellectually
I'm on the
honest about that.
skeptical side.
No, I'm
You know,
atheist with a capital A. I don't even think that there's a coherent concept of God that I've been presented. Paul's slightly different, but we definitely both are on the same page that Christianity is demonstrably false.
okay. Well, maybe I'll call back. I've already taken a lot of time. Maybe call back and talk about that a little more concrete.
Yeah,
I don't mean to
do
waste
it.
your time or anything. And
Yeah, no,
I
no, it's an
appreciate
interesting conversation. Just remember, one of us is sure about what we believe.
okay. So do you feel like
Me.
that reasonable to do? Do you feel like it's reasonable to be 100% sure that Jesus Christ, was
Didn't
wrong?
magic himself out of
100%
the
sure.
dead because he was also his father? Yeah, I'm pretty 100% sure about that.
100% sure. Okay.
Yep.
I think it's unreasonable for you to think that you know a single word that Jesus said.
Okay.
Call us back again. Call us back again. To
Okay.
be continued. Next time Paul and I are on, Wes, I expect to see you in the queue.
Thanks
Deal?
very much, guys. Appreciate it.
All
Have a
right.
good
Have
night.
a good day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.